you to see, because this is created by one of the largest robotic companies in the world. And I'm talking about Unitree. Just check the elements, the precision, and then compare that with the US. So now we have entered into a new phase that I call the robot war between China and the US. Of course, check the movements, the precision, but most important, the combination between the human and robot. And in 2017, when I published my book, Beat the Robots, I talk about the implications of artificial intelligence and how at the end, whoever is going to win was the guy that really knew how to take advantage of robotics. And that is what is happening right now. Because a lot of people around the world are asking who's going to win, what kind of stocks, what kind of investments. And in today's video, I'm going to tell you all about it. And most important, we're going to analyze how China is performing, how the US performing, top different 5 different types of stock: industrial robots, healthcare robots, software and robotics, any type of robot. Yes, I'm very passionate about robots. And that's the reason I wanted to start with this, because what you're seeing here, it happens for 3 reasons. Number one, when I built robots back 20 years ago, we have big challenges. We have to build robots that follow one line, recognize the colors. Okay, so it was like a sphere, red, yellow, and blue. Grab that sphere and put it somewhere else. And that was the biggest competition in that time when I was studying computer science. But then robotics have grown so fast. In that time, we programming my robot using assembler. But right now, they're the combination of 3 elements. Number now is that what you're seeing screen, and is that robots have been using more types of microchips. Of course, it's not the same as 20 years ago. It's the microchips that have become smaller, but also more useful. All the servo motors that you're seeing in those robots and their performance are just incredible because of the miniaturization that we have been doing. So that's number one. Number two, we have been recording. I know what about this girl on the left? She should be more happy, man. If I was in front of those robots doing that show, I will just be as excited as possible. And someone, for example, shared what China was already doing in this type
in
of
the world.
conference. Okay, because that's the second element. The second element is that now with large language models, what is happening is that you can train robots in a simultaneous way, meaning that before we have to program robot by robot. But now, using the same technology of ChatGPT, well, we can train hundreds of thousands of robots at the same time. And that's the beauty of what is really happening with all these robotic elements and what is happening in China with what we're seeing here. And if you research what are they doing, this is the number one element, is that industrial robot installations are just growing like crazy. And this is data from the International Federation of Robotics. So it's like, as Balaji said, China isn't just talking about robotics, they're really doing this stuff. And we see their progress, because I remember when we were implementing things in the university, we had a lot of German, Swiss, and Austrian robots to do our research. But right now, there are Chinese robots that are being trained. And that's the beauty. And I think that's beautiful because this is allowing the world to access technology that they didn't have before. One of the robotics, and that you can only see specifically both in the US and in China, and is the precision that those robots are getting. Why? Because as you see here, for example, these robots, they're learning about their environment all the time. And I was talking with an expert on robotics in Latin America, and I got surprised because the Amazon of Latin America doesn't have this type of technology in their factories. They're still using humans. But if you go to Amazon or if you go to Baidu or any other big company, both in the US and China, they're already implementing this. So this is gonna be crazy. And let me show you another one. When you check China, they're just installing more robots. And they're installing more robots than the rest of the world combined because they knew that they were so behind than the rest of the world. This is the kind of data that you should analyze. Not a lot that they say, no, but China is not able to do stuff, whatever, whatever. Man, just go and see how in their daily lives are already being integrating robots, which I think is just amazing. And another great thing about what they're doing is that they implement these robots in daily situations, expanding beyond industrial robots, but more related to, for example, the train system. As you can see here, one of these robots is really helping both to manage the information, to organize the data, to repair, and to prepare these amazing bullet trains. So the US doesn't even have good trains. The Amtrak is like one of the worst train systems in the world. Good trains are in Europe, in Germany, the Renfe in Spain. They're great trains. Or you go to Japan. But China, what they did is like, okay, we didn't have trains. What if we build trains, but also we build the infrastructure using robots so we can implement mechanical systems that will help us to optimize the fastest trains in the world, but also to keep them on track. So that's the most interesting thing about what is China doing compared with the rest of the world. While other countries such as Germany, they have been developing for decades trains, China, because they didn't have it, they had the opportunity and they really took it. While countries like in Latin America, we haven't done that. So that's the disappointing part. If you don't believe me, you're like, no, but Francisco, you're just promoting China. Okay, I'm gonna show you something. This was not shown by me. This was shown by Alexander Wang, one of the self-made billionaires. He created an amazing company that, and I actually participated at his company doing tagging. So, for example, I registered as a master's degree now. I'm doing my doctoral program, my PhD. And I had questions and I have to answer them and answer in a way that a large language model could learn about those questions. So he's one of the biggest one. He's the kind of guy that says, we have to keep having America as the number one country in the world. Well, let's check the data. The most important thing about all my analysis, as you can see, I go back to the data. It's not what people said or not people what they want, is the reality. So check what is Alexander Wang sharing. Bank of China announced an investment worth 1 trillion yuan. That's a lot of money. That's equivalent, so you can think about it, $140 billion. That's more than the EU has announced on their artificial intelligence plan. Is less than the 500 billion plan that was announced by Donald Trump and Masayoshi Son and Sam Altman. But remember that the Chinese, that they're not only investing a lot of money, but they're outperforming the US in many areas. And that's what is happening. Second element, look, China public sector accelerates AI adoption. This is an advantage that the US is getting behind. Because when you analyze who's been named by Donald Trump, for example, great czar, yes, very good. But contracts and the governments, they need to implement artificial intelligence. So it's like, man, they're just growing and doing that. And I think that that is going to be one of the advantage, because at the end, who benefits? Who benefits? Tell me. Well, it's the public, are the citizens. Okay. The third element that was shared by Alexander before we go into stocks is that they call policy support for data labeling. And this is important. That's what Alexander Company's scale does, actually, is labeling. Now, for example, Alexander is hiring PhD researchers. So actually, if you're a PhD researcher in economy, in physics, or in mathematics, let me know in the comments below and I will send you the information so you can have like a work in this area if you're interested. But labeling is such an important task because that's the way that we as humans are teaching the machines. Example is like I'm telling the machine, this is cap, a yellow cap, and this cap is in New York, and this cap probably is going to pick up someone. So all those elements are part. So what the National Data Administration in China is doing is that, oh, now how we can transform that data leveling elements. And what kind of companies can we invest if we're talking about robotics? Okay, I'm gonna give you a very diverse list. Okay, someone is calling me. Hey, what's how you doing? Well, I'm just doing a video about robotics. Yes, yes, very nice. Very nice. Okay, so well, of course we have Tesla. I cover a video on Tesla. Go and watch it. We have companies such as Honeywell. Very interesting. Teradyne, which I like it a lot, but it's part of the list. Now let's go more for the robotics automation. Someone has asked me to cover UiPath. I'm gonna do a whole video on UiPath. And ABB has been a very established company from Europe. So if you want to diversify your portfolio, man, think about not only investing in American companies. Think about, for example, ABB, part of the diversification processes. Okay. Now let's check defense robotics. And if you watch one of my videos about penny stocks, Kratos is a very interesting robotics company. Why? Because they're focused more on what they call the unmanned aerial vehicles. And I'm going to show you about that here. Okay. You go here, Kratos UAV. Yeah, so you can see, yes, because this is competing with systems such as this one, the Fei Huang UAV from China. But the interesting thing about these companies is that they really want to develop the new type of super, I will call it super drones. Okay. This one is called Thanatos. Good naming. Good naming. And I like this stock. Let's check how is the Kratos stock doing these days. Yeah, because remember, it's a company of $5 billion. So let's see how has been performing the past month since we cover it. Look, we covered before 25 $27, now $33. Very interesting. But this is a very interesting company that in the past year has grown more than 100%. Very careful, of course. It's a company that since 1999, so it had a good time up to $1,000 per share. So it has been dormant from the past 20 years, but finally, if you check the last 5 years, it's like wake it, hey, wake it, oh, wake it. So very interesting. That's the reason I like it, because this is part of the robotics that I will strongly recommend you to check, especially if you're gonna diversify. Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman are very big companies. Boeing, well, you know what happens. But in consumer bots, I will recommend you to check this IRBT, iRobot, and especially some Chinese companies as well. Xiaomi is doing amazing stuff. And let me show you what is Xiaomi doing these days. Because everyone remembers Xiaomi because of their phones, their smartphones. But it's a company that has said, okay, how we can move from this one, the 9-bot mini, which they call it, like it's called a two-wheel self-balancing scooter, okay, that was developed like 10 years ago, to more that type of bipedal humanoid robot. So the humanoid robots are not only being developed by Unitree, they're being developed by Xiaomi. Think about that, and that is going to be very, very interesting. Okay, as you can see here, example right now in China by companies such as Unitree, as you can see. Unitree will be a very interesting when they do an IPO. That will be a company that I will buy. And I agree with CEO of Robinhood that he said that we should tokenize private stock so we can invest. Yeah, I will buy OpenAI, not 250 billion. Come on, dudes. I could have bought under 100 billion market cap. That would be great. But companies that are coming will be great. And Xiaomi, look what they built. They build their own cars. Very interesting cars. The SU7, call it. Amazing car. And then ask the question, how do you think they're doing these cars? Well, it's automation. That's the beauty element about what is happening. And that's what I like a lot this sector, because it gives us so many opportunities to invest right now, specifically because Chinese companies are very undervalued in terms of their stocks. Companies such as Alibaba with their new image generation model, which I think is now the best with Quen 2.5 Max. Maybe I should do a video about it. But check the quality of this car that Apple, they wanted to do the Apple car, but they say, we don't want to do it. Tesla is better. And Apple then said, okay, we're going to do artificial intelligence. We don't want to do it. We just integrate with OpenAI. And then I see my iPhone and I'm like, dude, I haven't changed my iPhone in 4 years. I hope this year I will change it, or I will just move to go back to Google's phones, the Pixel area. Because, everyone is being defeated by Chinese companies that are putting so much automation in the process. So remember, robotics, the CEO of NVIDIA said, is like, and you can watch my video on NVIDIA, is the perfect combination, because you're just training a lot of robots with all the data that is being generated. And the cool thing, and I'm going to show you something very interesting, is that you can use, and I think this is one of the best robots right now, but you can use the data being generated by this robot. Incredible. That's what I like it. This robot is just amazing. Just look the capability. And everyone can say, no, but China just copied a model. Well, that's their model. First they copy, then they innovate. And that's the reason they send people all around the world to study. If you see the top 10 mathematic winners in the Olympics are either Chinese or they're Chinese American. But check this. This is an incredible bot. It's just marvelous. And this is the type of technology that we are competing against. So, as an investor, I will strongly recommend to diversify your portfolio. Start investing in stocks in China as well. Start investing in things that are being produced in China. Start using Chinese LLMs, large language models, such as DeepSeek or Quen from Alibaba, because that will give you an edge. And yeah, this is one of the best videos ever. It's just beautiful. Each time I see this video, I got very excited. You know, man, who can do this? Only this company. Of course, there are other companies that are trying to copy, but just look the rotors, the elements, the weight. Oh no, they're being managed. Man, it's complicated. This is very challenging, but very beautiful. Look that, man. I want to buy that robot. Okay, guys, thank you very much for subscribing and supporting this channel. I really appreciate your comments. And I have a special announcement today, guys. I like to do a special